The next item on the agenda is the silent hazard CFB bike lane case. And our first Vice President, Oriano Belusic, is going to present that for us. Most of you, I think, know Oriano. For those who don't, he was the founding president of CFB, and he's always there when people call him, and he's a great friend and a good colleague. And so, Oriano Belusic.
In Victoria, they decided to separate the bus stops with a very active bike lane on some of the streets in Victoria. In other words, I'll use feet rather than meters, but there's a 10-foot wide bicycle lane that separates the bus shelter and where bus riders wait for their transit bus from the sidewalk. So, you know, in the Federation, we very rarely complain about, you know, infrastructure and challenges of this nature, but there are times when we do make noise about it, and this is one of those times. We made noise about the absolutely silent car, you know, backing up, etc., etc. And now we have a situation where the city councils are basically talking inclusion. There's all this flowery language, you know, we heard some of it this morning. We want inclusion, and you know, they make a business card in Braille, and they've done it. It's not, sorry for being a cynic sometimes. It's not that simple. Independent blind people need to be able to move around their communities in safety. You are being asked to play Russian roulette with your life basically when you cross over this bike lane in order to catch a bus. Now it just happens that a lot of blind people need to use buses because we don't drive our self-driving cars yet or anything like that. So in order to use these bus stops, you first have to find it mid-block. There's usually no tactile markings or anything. We can manage that perhaps, but to then walk across this 10-foot wide bike lane, which has bicycles that are zooming by at 30 kilometers, 35 kilometers an hour. Some of them are electrically powered now, and they really, really move, and they're not your traditional 25-pound bike. They weigh, you know, 100 to 150 pounds. You put a 200-pound person on it, if you get hit at that speed because you just decided to step out with your cane or your dog at the wrong time, it's game over. You know, a guide dog user such as myself and many in the room here, if you have a near encounter with one of these dangerous, you know, incidents, the confidence of your dog is basically finished. You know, there's no way you'll recover from having a very near collision with a bicycle. Your dog would be afraid to cross, you know, whenever you tried that crossing again. So, you know, you may survive, but your confidence and your dog's confidence would probably be wrecked. So basically, that's the scenario where we've written about the problem. The city has formed an accessible working group that is supposed to and did address the concern about the elderly, you know, blind folks, folks with vision impairments, crossing this active bike lane that doesn't require, well, they do require the bicycles to stop, but the thing is they call it a bike lane for a reason. The bike people that use it feel that it's their lane and they can always ride on it without any impediments. They don't stop. You know, they painted X's on the bike lane. It's supposed to be a cautionary symbol to get the cyclist to stop or to slow down so they don't hit you as hard. I don't know what the deal is, but and then they have painted lines.
We stand there and they don't stop. Like we've actually tested it out.
The Canadian Federation of the Blind has had a few of their members go through the process of videotaping the behavior of cyclists. And basically, you can stand there with your cane, you can stand there with your dog, and the cyclist will not slow down even. They'll just keep whizzing by. So if you did step out at the wrong time, it's not a good thing. Like I said, I don't know what our colleagues are doing to the south, but this design network is going to grow. And we've had letters ever since we filed the human rights complaint, because all the other letter writing and meetings didn't go anywhere. They basically are speechless when we express our concerns about it, because they know they've done the wrong thing. They don't know how to fix it, short of tearing it up and ripping it out. So we've basically had to file a BC human rights complaint in order to force the issue to some resolution. It's currently at that stage where we're exploring dates for the public human rights meeting, for the mediation, and there's legal teams involved from the city, from the BC Transit, and from us, Canadian Federation of the Blind. We put a few $1,000s into it. Thank goodness we have a lawyer who's willing to, for the most part, work free for us. But of course, there is no such thing as free. He needs to be paid for his work. He has to pay for the the staff and the office. So he's working with us, but we, as an organization, do our best to pay whatever we can to help him out. The situation is in progress as far as the legal case is concerned, but I am calling on all blind people to be cognizant, to check up at their local municipal leaders to see if they're doing something similar. Just because it sounds positive and everybody's dancing up and down about, healthy living and cycling is great, check it out, because, the independence of blind people is at stake. If you can't use public transit safely in your community, it's a problem. And it's a problem that's going to grow, because they're determined to create these healthy living networks. And I know that cities such as in Oregon are, almost at the leading forefront on some of this cycling infrastructure. Yep. I don't know if they've done something similar, as dumb and stupid as they have in our city, but they might, or they might be thinking of it. And like I said, we've had letters from the Netherlands, from blind people. We had letters from Scandinavia, and all other places where our local civic leaders say that it has been successful in these parts of the world. The letters that we have received from blind people in those communities is that it's a disaster. They too are risking their lives when they cross over these areas. And vehicles will stop or slow down when they see a flashing light, or a crosswalk when they see a pedestrian waiting to cross. Cyclists have a different behavior, as our videos show.
Yes.
They don't feel they have to stop when somebody's on the side of the road. As a matter of fact, they've been observed to start pedaling faster. The safety depends on what's known as eye contact, and who wins in this standoff of eye contact. And blind people just are not, in the game when it comes to eye contact with a cyclist. So that explains the meat and potatoes of it. The Canadian Federation of the Blind is working hard to deal with it. It's going to be a lot of work, but basically, if you're wondering what you can do, is when we call on you to help out, or to come and participate, or to send a letter in, or do something, we would very much appreciate that help.